So today we're talking about the 5 shifts to design a lifestyle that you love. So first I'll start with who this is for. This is for unfulfilled professionals with a real burning desire for a unique lifestyle that they love, that really fits who they are at their core. Okay. So in the next 45 minutes, what you can expect, we're going to talk about how to create a joyful lifestyle without sacrificing your values. We're going to talk about how to design your own life regardless of others' expectations of you. We're going to talk about the unexpected truth about how inner transformation really deepens fulfillment, even if you don't have everything that you want in your lifestyle just yet. We're also going to look at how you might be unintentionally blocking the changes that you want and how to start to move through those blockages. What it takes to embrace new possibilities in your life and not just stay with where you're kind of stuck with and what you're used to thinking about, but how to break through into new possibilities, how to step out of your dangerous comfort zone and into the unknown so that, again, you can find those new possibilities. And we're going to talk about how to navigate challenges when you're busting free from that status quo lifestyle. And we'll talk about the new way to take action that really aligns with who you really are and what you really, really want for your life while still accomplishing your to-do list. Okay, so my big promise to you for today is that we're going to cover 5 shifts to help you design the lifestyle you want to live and drop the lifestyle you feel like you have to live. So ask yourself for a moment, does any of this sound like you? Do you wake up just dreading going to your toxic job? Maybe you're bored, maybe you're stuck. Do you feel stuck in a lifestyle that you never even chose for yourself? Have you checked all the boxes and done everything right, but you just still feel unsatisfied and you can't quite put your finger on why? Do you feel called to a unique life of meaning and purpose? Do you often feel busy and tired, but rarely putting energy towards what means the most to you? And do your dreams take a back seat? Maybe you put everybody else first, or you're afraid to go for what you really want, or maybe you're waiting to retire before you can really enjoy your life. Are you haunted by an idea, that business, that book, that grand adventure that you dream about, especially when your day gets stale? And can your idea positively impact the world, but you just don't know how to bring it to life yet? And have you reached a point where you just have to make a big change in how you're living and you don't know where to start? If it sounds like you, the good news is that these are just symptoms of a bigger problem. And so the real problem is that you haven't made these 5 shifts that we're about to talk about. Okay. So once you make these shifts, you can expect to wake up smiling because you're living out your definition of personal success instead of that old version of success that just leads to burnout. Your friends might be in awe that you're walking your unique path, regardless of what others think or say. And you'll clarify your goals and finally take action towards the dreams that have just haunted you for ages. You'll have more autonomy while passionately serving others from a place of joy and integrity. And your loved ones might ask you how you're quickly moving through the difficulties that just would have stopped you in your tracks in the past. And you'll be tuned into your inner compass so that you can trust your intuition to guide you more. You'll serve others more skillfully without feeling drained and depleted all the time. And you'll live in an authentic way and understand why it's critical to living a whole and a healthy life. So let me tell you quickly about who I am. My name's Andrea Shipley, and I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Virginia, and I'm also a life coach. And I've helped hundreds of people through big lives over the years. And I also come from more of an artistic background. So I have utilized my art and design skills to create a unique nomadic lifestyle for myself. Because as a homebody who also loves variety, travel, and adventure, it just made a lot of sense for me to build a home on wheels and a career path with location flexibility so that I could have the comforts of home, but also have a new backyard on a regular basis, and I didn't have to sacrifice the work that really matters to me. Don't worry, I'm not going to convince any of you to build out schoolies or live on the road. This is really all about what your ideal lifestyle would be for you as an authentic individual. But this is just what my version has come to look like. So let's talk about how I discovered these 5 shifts. I noticed that the old version of success just doesn't really make people happy. So like barreling forward, manning up, pushing to get things done, it just leaves so many people feeling burned out and tired. And a lot of times what they're really chasing for is more money in their lives. But then, of course, I learned that money doesn't actually bring happiness past a certain point. So, once people have all their survival needs met, if they're making less than about $75,000 a year in the United States, then more money can help them to feel happier. But past that point of 75,000, more money does not equal more happiness. But yet, a lot of people are still striving for more. And I noticed also that people often feel like they sacrifice their values in order to do their jobs, which I found to be really sad, that a lot of people feel like either they live their values inauthentically or they go to work every day, so I really wanted to find a solution for something different. I also noticed that at retirement, a lot of people don't always have the resources, the energy, or the time that they expected to have to do what really matters the most to them. So it became clear to me that we have to make our own lives count. Nobody else is going to do it for us. We have to find ways to do it for ourselves. So the first shift that I'm going to share with you today is to believe that your life can fit you. And so this is all about being authentic, finding ways to be authentic and show up authentically, because we've all been tamed, raised to be accepted. And that's really, really valuable for us as kids. It's important that we learn what's needed in society in order to fit into society. But of course, if it becomes so overbearing that we lose touch with our own authenticity, then it can lead to all kinds of problems, right? So when that happens, it can be really hard to imagine that if we become more of ourselves, we can live more joyful lives. But really, I found that it's just the only way. We have to show up authentically. And we can only be the best version of ourselves. We cannot be somebody else, right? So we have to allow ourselves to show up authentically in order to move forward in life. And when we only do what we think we should do, we lose sight of that authenticity and end up feeling burned out, and we can just feel stuck and full of regrets. I've really enjoyed the work of Bronnie Ware, and she is a hospice worker who's also studied the top 5 regrets of the dying people that she was working with. And she discovered that the top regret that most people have when they're at the end of their lives is, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks, right? And I've shared it with a lot of my counseling clients and coaching clients over the years because I think it's that profound. But just imagine for a second, what's the life that you would live if you'd had this kind of courage to live a life true to yourself and not the one that others expected of you? Studies suggest that inauthenticity can lead to difficulties with mental and physical health. So like if we're suppressing our authenticity, it can kind of metastasize and end up working against us. So living an authentic life is really, really important for our all-around health and well-being. And in order to get there, it requires bold self-discovery, radical honesty, and the courage to show up as you. We all have natural gifts and abilities that need to be nurtured and offered to the world. So think for a moment, what are yours? I want to tell you quickly about John and Becca. These are 2 very good friends of mine, and they inspired me to consider what kind of lifestyle would feel really good to me, because I saw them doing it. So they gave me hope. I knew it was possible. They've always lived outside of the box, and they spent over a decade living on a sailboat and traveling the world. And they did that while building their careers and maintaining relationships with friends and family. So that I found super inspiring. And Becca said, we thrive on change and adventure. We try to live our life in a way that leaves us open to pursue and react to opportunities as they present themselves. This requires flexibility, spontaneity, open-mindedness, and plenty of patience and humor about it. So this leads us into the second shift, which is to decide and allow for change. You know, John and Becca got to a point where they had been so burned out, you know, paying too much in rent, not making enough at their jobs, and just feeling stuck in the city that they were in. So they finally had to decide to make a big change. So I've noticed that we all have an inner critic that kind of warns us to stay in our comfort zone and do what other people want from us. And we want to quiet that inner critic so that we can move forward, but it just never shuts up. So we might not get very far. But here's the truth. You don't have to make that voice shut up. You can decide to work with it instead of fighting against it. And that just brings so much more peace on the journey. So people can lose decades of their lives wanting to improve things, but they don't actually take the risks that they need to take in order to create the kinds of changes that they want. A lot of times, those people who do take risks often do it after hitting a point of sheer exhaustion and burnout, which means that the actions that they take might be more reactive and even destructive rather than proactive and wise. So to improve your life and stop feeling stuck, you cannot just hope that things will improve. You have to really commit to making them better, right? So even when people know what they want, it can still be hard to change. Have you ever noticed this? Like you decide, you know what you want, but still things keep kind of working against you and you stay feeling stuck. And so letting go of the old is just as important as knowing what you want to move towards. Okay, does that make sense? So nothing can be created without being imagined first. And that is so important to recognize because a lot of times we can devalue imagination, but really imagination is such a vital tool for designing your best life. So I just want to give you permission to sort of reacquaint yourself with your imagination. So this is me. I'm my first case study for today. So for more than 15 years, I secretly yearned for a lifestyle that would let me fulfill my passion for travel and exploration. And I just could not figure out how to do it while maintaining a career in an adult life, right? It felt like either I was going to be a complete gypsy, nomad, hippie person, or I was going to be a professional therapist. And I couldn't figure out how to put them together. I had a good job and I loved doing work that helped people, but I was frustrated. I was frustrated that I didn't have the time or the money to really nurture my own interests. It felt like my whole life was about my work, which just didn't feel good to me. And after longing and dreaming for years, I decided that I just had to make a change. So I left my job, started my businesses, I sold my house, I bought a bus that I renovated into an RV, and I'm proud to say that I've been working for myself and traveling full time since the summer of 2019. And I'm still loving the therapy work that I'm doing, and now I'm incorporating this lifestyle design coaching, which is also really, really exciting. So this leads us into the third shift, which is self-transformation. It's kind of the secret weapon. So oddly enough, the old you cannot have what you're dreaming of, but the next evolution of yourself can have it. So imagine the you that you need to grow into, who fits into your dream lifestyle and who can really savor it and enjoy it. And I know that change can be scary, but you need to know that it is possible. It's just that without courage, a scared self is a stuck self. So it's really important that we find ways not only to notice how we hold ourselves back, but also to cultivate the courage to move through so that we can get unstuck. And dissatisfaction often comes from not knowing your needs, your desires, your expectations, or your boundaries, or it comes from knowing those needs, desires, and expectations, but ignoring them in favor of something else, maybe in favor of other people's expectations or other people's needs. So that's worth checking out. Self-awareness cultivates long-lasting transformation, right? If we're not self-aware, it's really, really hard to change in a meaningful way. So check out for yourself, are your choices lined up with your true values? Studies in neuroplasticity tell us that we can change our brain health and habits more than we ever realized, which is really great news, because for a long time, it was kind of understood that you can only really make brain changes when you're really young, but now we know that that isn't true. We can continue to change our minds in profound ways throughout our entire lives. And it turns out that building healthy mindset habits is a huge factor to personal success and mental reprogramming. Every aha moment that we have really needs to be integrated into the subconscious in order to transform our lives and ourselves. And this happens by getting into the present moment and taking consistent right actions on a regular and intentional basis. I want to tell you a little bit about the old way of making change, like the old perceptions about what would make transformation, what would make success. So that includes fear-based actions and old ideas about how we should be, right? A lot of barreling forward, manning up, just getting the thing done. A lot of blaming and changing and trying to control everything outside of ourselves instead of looking inside. Settling for situations that chronically deflate us. Devaluing imagination as if it's just a childish waste of time and doesn't have any value, and calling ourselves selfish if we want more. Unfortunately, what this leads to, occasionally it works out and gets people to success, but more often than not, it leaves them feeling unfulfilled and exhausted, more stressed, more burned out, potentially poor health, mental or physical, or both, and strained relationships. The new way is to design your lifestyle. The new way of making change involves honoring the present moment while building the future. It's not either now or later, it's both. It's how do I enjoy the present moment and make the most of it while also building for a meaningful future. And balance letting life unfold and taking inspired actions towards that future. It involves being accountable to where you are and where you're headed, and giving yourself permission to want more in life. And this leads to enjoying your unique life and actualizing your heart's goals, reclaimed health while serving others better too, because we need to be coming from a place of health and well-being as often as possible in order to serve people well. And it leads to improved joy, connections, and an overall sense of abundance. So far, we've discussed believing that your life can fit you, deciding and allowing for the change you crave, self-transformation as the key to that change, okay? So the fourth shift is creativity is cooperative, and this is really the glue that holds it all together. So healthy living is like rafting down a river, right? We can choose our direction as long as we're going downstream. We can take action, we can paddle in one direction or another, but ultimately we have to work with the forces of nature. We have to let the river take us, and we have to adapt to that flow. So we don't have total control, but we do have really profound influence. Unless, of course, we're trying only to always just paddle upstream, right? We might try to take control of the river and ultimately we get drained, right? Just like the old way and the new way. So co-creating happens through authentic self-expression paired with a sense of unity with all of life, not separation. Okay, does that make sense? So successful people know how and when to trust their gut and access inspired ideas in an almost supernatural way. And that's by joining with the forces of nature instead of struggling against them. So creativity involves taking action and receiving so that we can get into the flow of life and feel supported in that flow. And creativity requires exploration and it requires play, but it also flows best within parameters. So the limitations of our life circumstances can actually fuel creativity instead of just creating a dead end. So when we think about the opportunities in life rather than the limitations, the possibilities are really great and they can help direct our flow and our path. Unfortunately, a lot of social systems focus on separation and lack, but we can, as individuals, choose a paradigm of connection and creativity. And I want to challenge you to think about it that way. This is Madeline. This isn't her real name or her real face, but this is a real story. So just for the sake of privacy, I wanted to let you know that. Madeline came to me feeling overwhelmed by building her dream life. She was in grad school to become a therapist herself, but she knew already that she didn't want to get stuck in an agency job. So already the path ahead of her was kind of wearing her down. So we worked on the cooperative nature of creative living, and she discovered the ease and flow of taking things one step at a time. She had this way of thinking about the whole big picture all at once, and it would just kind of paralyze her. So she quickly went from hopeless and distractible to solidly anchored in her lifestyle vision and the best next step to take. So now she's empowered to finish grad school, and she has the benefit of having a clear vision of the work life that she wants to create for herself when she finishes school, which, as somebody who went through school for therapy myself, I can tell you that that would have made such a tremendous difference for me if I had more of an understanding about the path ahead and some of the sticking points and how to start with the flexibility and the creativity of thinking about what would actually fulfill me in the long term. So I'm really excited to have helped Madeline get to that point for herself where she's got a long-term plan and strategy. The fifth and final shift is to invest in mentoring. And this shift really makes all the previous four possible on a much bigger level. So people can spend decades, learning all that they can, reading books, having aha moments, but they do that without integrating it in a way that creates lasting change. So it ends up that years are lost. They're just dreaming about the life that they'll never create. And they might make a little bit of progress and then end up quitting because they just don't know what's blocking them or how to move forward or how to heal. So they end up doing the wrong things over and over again instead of getting expert help to discover what really works. And this leads to stagnancy, regret, and feeling just eternally trapped. But a good mentor can help you clarify your authentic goals and guides you to take consistent right action so that you can build a fulfilling and sustainable lifestyle. It can feel hard to invest in yourself in this way at first, but when you try to do it all alone, you end up wasting more time and more money without reaching the success and the sustainability that you're after. So a mentor will lovingly challenge you to be who you really want to be and to make the most of what you're building. So what kind of lifestyle would you design if you had help from a mentor? And the last case study I want to share with you is about Jada. And Jada was feeling burned out by her physically demanding work. And she was stuck in a job and also a location that she'd just outgrown. And she wanted to work and travel full time, but it seemed impossible to take her work on the road. She was an artist, is an artist. And it just felt like too overwhelming to figure out. And she was really hesitant to invest in mentoring, but once she did, she dove into making these 5 shifts. And within a few weeks, she felt like what had felt impossible or unlikely was now possible. And she was armed with a really clear strategy for taking her business on the road. And Jada said to me that designing her lifestyle opened up the universe to her. So she's now living creatively without sacrificing what matters the most to her. So today I promised to inspire you to be healthier by creating an authentic lifestyle. I told you we'd talk about how to design your own life regardless of others' expectations, how you might block the changes that you want, the unexpected truth of how inner transformation deepens fulfillment, even if you don't have all that you want yet, and the new way to take action towards your authentic vision while still accomplishing your to-do list. And what you need to win, again, those 5 shifts that help you design an intentional lifestyle that you love. Shift 1 is believing that your life can fit you. Shift 2, deciding and allowing for change. Shift 3 is self-transformation. Shift 4 is that creativity is cooperative. And shift 5 is to invest in mentoring. Okay, so now you have a choice. You can keep doing what you've been doing, collecting information, trying to do it all on your own and potentially spinning your wheels with minimal results, or you can choose to make these shifts and design an amazing lifestyle that fits who you are at your core. Okay, and here's how I can help. So I've set aside some time in the next few days to hop on the phone with those of you who are ready to live a purposeful and untamed life. Together, we can explore what kind of lifestyle you want and how to get the support that you need to build it. And my work with clients has covered a vast array of circumstances. So I encourage you to tell me your unique struggles, and I can and will help on that call. So in the call, we'll talk for about 45 minutes. We'll explore your ideal lifestyle and clarify what holds you back. And we'll create the first step in your plan to finally achieve it. And this call is free, okay? And you might be wondering why I'm doing this, and it's because I believe that the health of the world really depends on passionate and purposeful people who show up authentically. So I want to do everything that I can to make sure that they succeed in showing up fully, authentically, and feeling good in their own lives so that they can essentially help other people and help the world. And I also know that you might want my ongoing help to design the next chapter of your life. And if so, we'll decide together in the call if it's a good fit to work together. But I'm glad to be of service to you regardless on the call, okay? So before you book your call, let's talk about who this is for. So do you serve others and have a burning desire for a unique lifestyle that fits who you are at your core? Do you have an inspired idea that you need help to get off the ground and you're done just collecting free information? Are you ready to create real and lasting transformation for your life? Is now the time for a lifestyle revamp and you have the resources or resourcefulness to make real changes? If this is you, I encourage you to book your call. And in order to do that, you can open up another tab in your computer or your phone or wherever and type in this address. So it's alive.kartra.com/page/call. So again, it's alive.kartra.com/page/call. And spaces are very limited. I do have a full-time counseling practice in addition to the coaching work that I do. So I encourage you to sign up now for that call. I'm really, really excited to talk to you and see what I can help you do as far as designing a lifestyle that feels really, really good to you and special to you. So go ahead and book your call now. I'm excited to talk to you. And thank you for listening to this part of the presentation.